notes for my 2021 reading of Soul Surfer by Bethany Hamilton. It's a Soul Surfer, a Soul Surfer, a true story of faith, family, and fighting to get back on the board. Bethany Hamilton with Sheryl, Berk, and Rick Bundschuh. MTV Books, Pocket Books, Simon and Schuster. 2004, if I'm recalling correctly. So I'm going to go through just book and reading notes. I am Tanis Coralee Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle, and I'm filming this Saturday, 25 May 2024. So this is kind of an exercise to see what I remember, and I'm thinking of reading it again once I finish the book I'm currently reading, and then doing notes for that reading. So this is for my 2021 reading. So that's the introduction. Book notes. So it has not necessarily a whole bunch of text per page. However, it reads very well. So it was a quick read. It has color photography, photographs in it that were fun and matched the story. Sometimes it kind of feels like in reading autobiographies and biographies. So this is an autobiography / memoir of Bethany Hamilton, surfer. And so I thought the photographs, reflecting on it now, I think at the time I was very impressed with the visuals in the book, including one like image where she kind of wrote on text overlay back in 2004. It was kind of a map, so to speak. And I thought it was very useful. It fit the book. Whereas I'm finding in reading these books, sometimes it feels like people are like, I just want to put this picture in there because I have this picture, or I went to this place or whatever. And this is like, did it differently where it actually kind of matched the content of the book and didn't feel like she was bragging. So I thought that was excellently done. It has kind of for additional information structure, where there's like a text box and it's like something related, but maybe not directly part of the story kind of thing. And then there's sections, the name of the book and the author at the top, and then page numbers at the bottom, so it spaces it out. And then there's kind of text sections to guide through the different parts / chapters. And the acknowledgements is at the front. And they kind of, for where I am now, there's kind of the chapters have a theme to them, so it's kind of like a parts, depending on what one's used to reading, kind of thing. And so, that's the book notes. Reading notes. She is a surfer, and her family, her parents were like hardcore surfers, like the real deal, going out in the snow in New Jersey or something like that and surfing. So not necessarily in the tropics, so they moved to the tropics, or Hawaii. And she's in Kauai, however one wants to pronounce that. And she gets shark attacked there, and that's where they live. And I thought, it was really a really fluid book. Like, it flowed really well. 5 out of 5, I think I gave this back then 5 out of 5 stars. Whether I rated it in the system or not. And it was truly excellent. And she was, 13 when she wrote this book? And did it with one arm. And so I thought was rather incredible. Just saying. And this is someone who, the only surfer in life I knew the name of before the 2020 Summer Olympic Games in Tokyo, Japan, held in 2021. Maybe I'll include this in my Olympic Games coverage playlist. And I thought what's unique about her, and much more unique than the people who competed at the Olympic Games, is she went on, so she lost an arm, and she went on to compete with people with 2 arms and beat them. Okay, so there's like, the Paralympics, where like if you have a physical or mental disability, you can compete with like people, but they don't really want you to compete with able-bodied people, so to speak. She was like, screw your classification of me as a lesser human being. She competed with people with 2 arms and beat them. All right, so I thought in reading Soul Surfer is very much in fitting with this person who, competes with soul, so to speak. And then at the 2000... I bring up the 2020 Summer Olympic Games in 2021 in Tokyo, Japan, because she brings up someone in this book that she was at the same competition, though I don't know if she competed against, but was at the same competition. Someone she kind of admired was Carissa Moore, who won the gold medal at the in women's surfing, one of the events at the 2020 Summer Olympic Games. However, it was an interesting thing I wrote about that at the time, and it was an interesting thing to follow, kind of, because it was the person who won the gold medal. First off, Bethany Hamilton predicted it 17 years in advance of it happening. I lived in Hawaii for a few years, and it was one of those things in Hawaii. It was like, well, at some point, if the Olympic Games wants to survive, it'll include surfing, even if it's once, because they had a really good swimmer who was a surfer, kind of thing. The Hawaiians, way back when, closer to when the Olympic Games got started, was his name Duke something, and so they're like, if they know what's good for them, they'll eventually include it. So it was kind of obvious. And so she predicted the winner, so to speak, 17 years in advance, and even put it in book form. Pretty strong prediction. But it was an interesting thing to write about, because it was a reminder. So surfing was a technical proficiency, so it's scored on a point system. And the person who won the gold medal was not the same as the person who scored the most points in any one round of competition for the women. And so in speed sport, that would be like somebody in the semifinals sets a world record, and then somebody else wins in the final with a slower time. That's essentially what happened in surfing, right? Not the best surfer, just the person who won the medal, right? Based on the actual results from the competition, right? She was not the highest scoring surfer at the Olympic Games. However, she did win the gold medal. That's just how it works. Different rounds of competition bring out different performances from people, and sometimes the best performances per judging criteria are not the gold medal performances. And that was the 2020 Summer Olympic Games. But Bethany Hamilton did predict who would win. So I thought that was pretty good. Yeah. And anything else? Oh, the views. She does a good job. She includes, like, the scenery of Kauai, however one wants to pronounce it. And I'm not going to tell you one's right or wrong, because I'm not Native Hawaiian. And people will just take whatever I say and say it's the opposite, so why not include both? And so I've been thinking of moving in with my boyfriend Josh Kerr. He, in visiting my parents and spending the night after I've moved in with him, so coming and visiting my parents at this house, we would like to sleep upstairs because he loves the view from the multi-purpose room over there that looks out over the Puget Sound and the Olympic Mountains. And so while Kauai has the Nepali coast, we have a view of the Puget Sound of Olympic Mountains here in Washington State, United States of America, Planet Earth the Original. And so he would like to stay upstairs when we visit, there's a guest room, all right, in the like on the main floor where my parents sleep, but he really likes the view, and he wants to check it out in person when he comes to move me, kind of thing, so we can, maybe sometime it'll be Grandma Connie in the guest room, Mom and Dad and Kona in their room, my boyfriend Josh Kerr and I in the multi-purpose room, my aunt Danette in here, and then cousin John Dale out in the family room with the fold-up rollable bed. Full house. But yeah, so views. She doesn't neglect that or hide that to kind of hoard the views of Kauai or Kauai. She is open and shares that with the audience, so to speak. So, in conclusion, those are my notes for my 2004/from my 2021 reading of this book, and potentially getting back to it in a few days. Today's Saturday, 25 May 2024, so we'll see when we get back to this book. I'm working on a different one, but it is in queue.